Um, the US government seized the 15 billion crypto from a Cambodian company called the Prince Group, and that they are charging a Chinese national Chen Zhi with money laundering and fraud, conspiracy, stuff like that. Now, this thing also got a lot of attention in China. Not so much this is a Chinese national. He's not a good guy. Clearly, he's not a good guy. So nobody thinking that's a problem. But it does bring the attention to the fact that we used to think crypto is safe, like government cannot easily seize it, right? That if you don't have the wallet number or something, nobody can access to it, stuff like that. Clearly, the government can very easily just seize 15 billion. So this whole idea about crypto being decentralized and safe is not true, right?
Well, and nothing about crypto is true as far as I'm concerned. I mean, straightforward. I mean, you remember when it first appears, when Bitcoin first appeared all those years ago, and it was going to be the alternative currency that we were all
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
use. It never became that. It is now just an investment vehicle, as far as I can tell, except I'm not sure what you're investing in.
Yeah.
And I get to say this. I mean, I don't know that this is true, but what I have heard, and this is just a rumor that I'm repeating now,
Mhm.
is that Bitcoin was originally created by an intelligence agency, a Western intelligence agency, in order to pay people to transfer funds to various people in various places in ways that governments like the Chinese government might not know about. That is what it was. Now, I don't know whether that is true, but I have never believed, not for 1 second, that this thing was really out of government's control. I've always suspected that governments probably had a role in creating it. Call me suspicious, if you will, and if they needed to, they'd get their hands on it.
Yeah, and this example, right? This tells us that's
Yeah,
what it is. Yeah.
so,
Okay.
yeah.
The last thing, Alpha Arena is testing the AI by giving AI six models, testing six AI models to do the crypto trading, actually. um, and who did the best? DeepSeek. DeepSeek consistent. They give them each $10,000 worth of crypto to start with, and then you just follow their trade, and then the six of them will see. DeepSeek is the best, and Grok and Anthropic's model, they kind of like second place. And who is the worst? Gemini and ChatGPT. Isn't that
Oh, well, there
interesting?
you go. Well, it is very, very, very interesting. It doesn't surprise me at all, by the way. Absolutely not. I mean, it's an example of doing things simply, because this is, it seems to, I mean, the Americans created this enormous and not elaborate, overcomplicated structure, whereas the Chinese, as we know, they did this very quickly, very simply.
Mhm.
I don't know whether you've heard about this, but apparently there was I haven't got all the details, but I was told about this by a friend of mine, that some kind of a hack was done against. They got all kinds of information about how China does things,
Mhm.
and it has apparently been an eye opener for many people, because building a bridge, for example, the
Yeah.
Chinese discuss, we need, how much concrete do we need, how many steel piles, what the engineers are, how it's to be done, all that kind of thing. Whereas in the West, it's always about marketing strategies,
Uh,
ideological structures. Is it should be done by the free market? Should it be done by industry? Should it be done? How should it be done? Whereas Chinese just do it,
mhm.
and we waste all this time thinking about, if you like, the ideological framework of doing something. And
Mhm.
I think this goes directly to the question of AI. China does it very simply and very pragmatically and very directly. We spend inordinate amounts of time overthinking it,
Mhm.
because ultimately, despite the fact that China is a socialist country,
Mhm.
we are much more ideological than China is. We are
Mhm.
not pragmatic in the way that China is. We don't just go about, just get ahead, go about doing something. We have to do it in the ideologically correct way.
And also, they also have this mentality of making quick money. I also find
Yeah.
that's also
Well,
hurts uh,
but
the,
the one connects ultimately with the
yeah,
other because
uh-huh.
our ideology is always about making money.
Yeah,
China's ideology is about making infrastructure, building bridges, doing things like that, making practical things. We're always about our ideology is about ultimately how do we become very, very rich. That's
yeah.
that's that's the fundamental difference.
And in particular in AI, they want to keep people out. So that's why they always emphasize to you that it requires a big investment. They need
Yeah,
a lot of money, and then the
yeah,
chips is extremely expensive, and then they hire people extremely with extremely high compensations and all that kind of thing to keep competition out. I don't
exactly,
think that's good either. In China, part of the thing is it's very competitive. AI is
exactly,
also included.
exactly.
So,
You're
yeah.
completely, you're completely
Yeah.
right.
So
Absolutely, completely right.
So I think that's interesting that so there was
Mhm.
a lot of this discussion online, like how can I follow DeepSeek to do the trading, because they're doing better, about 30% above the average, the market
Well,
average.
there
So
you go. Well, there you go. It doesn't surprise me at all. As I said, I would have expected it actually.
yeah,
I'll tell you something else. China has better mathematicians.
uh-huh,
It's true.
yeah,
It's true.
yeah,
I know this in Cambridge, which is the major place for mathematics.
hmm
The best students they get are Chinese,
hmm
so they couldn't find anyone good enough to teach them in the UK. So they had to bring in mathematicians from Russia to do it. It's true.
yeah. The Russians are good. They are good at
The Russians are
mathematicians.
very good. The Russians are
Actually, some
good.
Ukrainians are pretty good too, my
I
understanding.
know. Well,
Yeah.
from the Soviet Union, the problem with the Russians apparently was that the Russians were absolutely hopeless at teaching first years,
Okay.
British first years, because they found the quality of science students who
hmm
came to British universities from school so far behind what they were used to in Russia that they just couldn't know quite how to get
How to
down
do
to
that?
that level.
Yeah.
But now they're getting, you see, the way they do it now is that they get these students from China and they are up to that standard.
Okay. So
So
one more
China,
thing.
China has the mathematicians and it's got the resources, so it can absolutely, and soon it will have the best chips. I mean,
Uh,
the extra, what was it, the ultraviolet, whatever it is,
uh-huh.
lithography
Lithography
machines.
machines. Yeah.
Exactly. The Chinese will build them, and they will build better ones, and they will get to the next stage of technology that goes above lithography machines. I know that this has been talked about. I'm not going to pretend I understand it, but I am sure that they will do that too. And in 5 years' time, it won't be much longer. China will be far ahead of us in all of these applications because China has the resources, it's got the people, it's got the ideas, it's got the infrastructure, not just the technical
Mhm.
infrastructure, but the whole ecosystem, the competition, the universities, the ways of doing these things. And of course, as you correctly said, it's got the supply chains. China is on the brink of very great things. And this isn't something that Chinese people should not be aware of. I think they should understand that too. It's China is roughly where the United States was in about 1910, 1920, when there was about to have an enormous upward
Mhm.
surge.
Yeah. And in the meantime, like why the Dutch government is so stupid is if
Yeah,
China stop providing rare earths to ASML, it will put ASML stop and give China time to make its own lithography machine to catch up.
yeah,
So if there's no reason China cannot just do that, right? But now China has a reason. Okay, I'm not
yeah,
giving you the rare earth. You to put a stop to you. How
absolutely,
stupid is that? It's so
absolutely.
incredible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, they're going back to aerospace. The Chinese are now making aircraft engines. The
Yeah.
Russians are making aircraft
Mhm.
engines. The point is that in 10 years' time, the best airlines, the best aircraft will be made in China and perhaps in Russia. They will not be made in the West anymore.
Yeah.
China will get ahead in rocketry. The Russians are very good engineers, by the way. They're very, very good rocket engineers, and they have a very advanced chemical industry. They will work with the Chinese. And as I said, we are on that. We're at that point. And yes, growth was only 4.8% in the last quarter or something of that kind, which is absolutely ridiculous. But what China is doing is it's catching its breath before the next sprint. If you studied history as long as I have done, and economic history as long as I have done, you can see that this is so.
So let's talk next week. Thank you
Next
so
week.
much.